The noblewoman from the marquise's estate mistakenly thought I was a destitute scholar, so she offered me 5 taels of silver a month to stay by her side as a study companion for 3 full years, until she left the academy. After seeing me off to the provincial examinations, Zhao Rushi vanished without a trace. Before I even had the chance to confess to her, I couldn't find any way to contact her. Even those who were extremely close to her at the academy had also left. 4 days later, her maid found me and delivered a letter. Inside was the title deed to a 2-courtyard house in the north of the city, as well as a silver note worth 2,000 taels. She said it was a token of gratitude for my 3 years of service. That was when I realized she had pegged me for a destitute scholar, but I was never short on money. Actually, back when I was a companion to Zhao Rushi, I had told her my family's situation wasn't bad at all, but she only replied, "What could a scholar do with that pittance of a monthly stipend? It wouldn't even cover decent ink and paper. It's certainly better than a street hoodlum, but compared to me, you still have a long way to go." But why did she leave the academy? You have to realize that only a few days before she left, we had just exchanged tokens of our affection. I was planning to confess the truth to her and propose to her family soon. I learned the truth from a friend. Her father wanted her to marry Bai Yang, the son of Bai Han. Today was the day Bai Yang was coming to make the formal proposal, so I drove to the Xinting Marquise's estate. The mansion was decked out in lights with the sound of drums filling the air. The halls were packed with guests. I looked toward the center. Zhao Rushi stood there with a man. That man was none other than Bai Yang. He had a sharp, rat-like face, as if he were a mouse turned human. Even in his expensive ornate robes, he couldn't hide his lecherous nature. Just looking at him made me feel sick. I saw Zhao Rushi standing by his side. She was wearing a long red dress, the hem fluttering in the breeze. Her brows were tightly knitted. Seeing this scene broke my heart. I could sense that Zhao Rushi was unhappy. Could it be that she was being forced to marry Bai Yang? I don't know who started the commotion in the crowd, urging Zhao Rushi and Bai Yang to share a nuptial cup. As Bai Yang reached out toward Zhao Rushi instinctively took a step back, dodging the hand he reached out. Bai Yang's face darkened. "Zhao Rushi, you dare to refuse me? Have you forgotten the agreement between our 2 families?" Zhao Rushi lowered her head slightly, hiding her reddened eyes, but she still took a step toward Bai Yang. I understood then. She must be forced by her family, which is why she is marrying Bai Yang. I immediately stepped out from among the guests, standing in the crowd and calling her name softly. "Rushi, whatever difficulties you have, just tell me. There's no need to suffer like this. I can help you." Her body trembled violently. Her gaze pierced through the crowd and found me. I saw a glimmer of joy in her eyes, but it was quickly covered by sorrow. Bai Yang sensed her reaction, and following her gaze, he spotted me in the crowd as well. "Who is he? Why does he call your name so familiarly?" "Just a poor scholar from Master Li's academy. He once admired me, but I rejected him. Don't pay him any mind. Hemp. If he has nothing to do with you, then throw him out. This is the Marquis of Xinting's residence. I shouldn't overstep my bounds. Miss Zhao, let the servants drive him away. Samani, throw this poor scholar out." Several servants approached from all sides to seize me. My guards stepped in to shield me. The surrounding guests looked on with contempt, but I was no mere poor scholar. Zhao Rushi and I met at Master Li's academy. At that time, I had just left the palace and had never seen anything outside its walls. I was curious about everything, so I secretly ate some of a classmate's dried sweet potatoes, just wanting to see what they tasted like. But I happened to be caught by Zhao Rushi. She assumed I had nothing to eat, so I stole a classmate's dried sweet potatoes. She made me apologize to that classmate. Afterward, she gave me some pastries and lectured me that I shouldn't steal from others. Ever since that day, I slowly fell for Zhao Rushi. Zhao Rushi would give me food every few days and told me she'd pay me 5 taels of silver a month to be her study partner. I thought it sounded interesting, so I agreed. After that, everyone at the academy would look at me with nothing but contempt. I didn't pay them any mind, only having my guards give them a sound beating at night. Whenever Zhao Rushi tried to find ways to give me money, I would tell her I didn't actually need it, but she never cared, insistently forcing the money on me. I sat next to Zhao Rushi every day, studying with her, and it continued for 3 years. During those 3 years, we developed feelings for each other. She asked me to earn my degree and come to her family to propose. We even exchanged tokens of our affection. So when she suddenly lost contact with me, I just couldn't accept it. Did she have some sort of hardship? Why wouldn't she tell me? I could have helped her surely. Zhao Rushi's voice pulled me back to reality. Her voice carried a hint of trembling. "Guards, get him out of here." Bai Yang watched all of this with a smile, his eyes filled with nothing but provocation. He had known about our relationship all along. Since the young man doesn't wish to leave, then let him stay. Having one more guest to celebrate my son's marriage wouldn't be a bad thing at all. The voice belonged to Bai Yang's father Bai Han. He wore a black long robe and shared a slight resemblance to Bai Yang. Zhao Rushi's father Zhao Bachuan stood beside Bai Han, bowing respectfully to him. His already short stature appeared even smaller. Even though he was the master of the manor, he gave off a sense of spinelessness, unable to make his own decisions. "Greetings, father. Father-in-law." Seeing that I didn't kneel, Bai Yang instantly flew into a rage. A mere scholar, daring to stand before my father without kneeling. Guards, throw him out at once. There is no need. Our dynasty has long held that those with official honors need not kneel before an official. However, as for these servants, since this person was clearly not on the guest list, why did you not turn him away at the door? Marquis, it seems your discipline is lax. Shall I teach you how to manage your own servants? Spare us, my lord. It wasn't us standing at the gate to welcome guests. It has nothing to do with us. Please, my lord, investigate the truth. Is that so? Then where are those who were stationed at the door? Call them out here. No need to look. I knocked them out and left them outside. How bold. To dare harm the servants of the Marquise's estate. Father-in-law, please severely punish this scoundrel. Zhao Bachuan glanced at Bai Han, as if seeking his approval. I couldn't help but find Bai Yang's words laughable. I want to see. Who among you dares to touch me? Zhao Rushi looked at me with tears in her eyes. You shouldn't have come. I am the one who has ruined you. Ha ha ha. Regardless, I Bai Han am a marquis. You are but a lowly scholar. How dare you spout such nonsense? A middle-aged man walked in from the door. It was General Shui Kong of the right. Marquise Zhao, how have you forgotten the most basic of courtesies? There wasn't even anyone at the door to greet guests. No wonder you're falling further from grace. General Sui, you have finally arrived. Please come in. There is quite a performance unfolding here. Honored guests, this is General Shi Kong, the sword of defense for our great Zhou. Oh, what kind of performance? What kind of grand show could it be? For you Bai Han to call it a grand show? I must see it for myself. A penniless scholar has come to fulfill those vows of eternal love he made to the Zhao family's daughter. It is truly laughable. Only these pedantic scholars would believe such nonsense. I'm just keeping him here to add a bit of amusement to the banquet. Once the banquet is over, I'll make him disappear from this world. He looked in my direction as he spoke, his eyes filled with arrogance. Young man, a scholar's pride is a good thing, but it may also bring about your ruin. In your next life, remember to be born into a wealthy family. I saw Shui Kong, and Shui Kong followed Bai Han's gaze to look over here. He recognized me, shock written all over his face, before returning to his usual composure. Ha ha ha. Bai Han, do you have any idea who he is? That you dare to run your mouth like this here? Aren't you afraid of offending someone you shouldn't? Hemp. Isn't he just a scholar? What other status could he possibly have? A mere scholar is nothing in my eyes. Bai Han, you are truly blind. He is no mere penniless scholar. He is His Highness the Fifth Prince. At these words, the entire hall fell into a deathly silence. The guests stood there, stunned. Although they lived in the capital, many of those present had never seen a member of the royal family in their entire lives. Zhao Bichuan's legs gave out, and he collapsed to the floor, his face full of panic. Zhao Rushi covered her mouth slightly. Is he truly the Fifth Prince? Are you certain, General Shui, that you haven't made a mistake? Would I, Shui Kong, lie to you about such things? He is indeed the current Fifth Prince. Bai Han was struck with terror and hurriedly pulled Bai Yang down to the ground. He actually fell right to the ground. His face was bruised and battered. 2 of his teeth were even knocked out. The intense pain made Bai Yang cry out. The guests in the hall began to whisper amongst themselves. His Highness, the Fifth Prince, has taken a fancy to the Zhao family's daughter. What a blessing for the Zhao family. Marquise Zhao is being far too unappreciative. Those same guests who looked down on me just moments ago now scrambled to curry favor with me. I glanced at Bai Yang, who was lying there in such a pathetic state, and then looked over at Bai Han. General Bai, didn't you say you came from a good family? How is it that you can't even protect your own reputation? Bai Han, hearing my biting sarcasm, apologized to me, saying, Please forgive me, Your Highness. I must have been blinded by foolishness to have spoken such treasonous words to you. Get out. Don't let me see you people again. Hearing my words, Bai Han quickly stood up and pulled the battered Bai Yang to his feet, fleeing the Marquise's estate, as if escaping a nightmare. I walked toward Zhao Rushi. I gently took her hand in mine. Zhao Rushi's eyes were slightly red. Why didn't you tell me sooner? If this had never happened today, and if Bai Yang hadn't come to propose, would you never have told me the truth for the rest of your life? I told you long ago that my family's circumstances aren't actually so bad. I pulled Zhao Rushi into my arms and gently wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes. I petted her hair with a touch of doting affection. When I return, I will come formally to ask for your hand. You must wait for me. Marquise Zhao, do you have any objections? How do you feel about me as your son-in-law? And no objections. For Your Highness to take Rushi as your bride is her greatest honor. Your Highness the Fifth Prince, could you please put in a good word for me before His Majesty? I knew all too well the dangers of the imperial court. If Zhao Bashwan were to get caught up in it, he would undoubtedly meet a crushing end. You should focus on holding on to the position you currently have. There will be opportunities later. But Zhao Baichuan seemed to have gone mad. He became hysterical. He didn't take a single word I said to heart. Bai Han can promise me a position. Why can't you? Could it be that your status as a prince is worth even less than that of a commander? Currently, the princes in the imperial court are at odds, and factions are forming everywhere. If you pick the wrong side, you will face total ruin. I am doing this for the good of the Zhao family. Zhao Baichuan's face was full of anger, and he sneered at my advice. At this moment, Zhao Rushi spoke up to persuade him. Father, you should listen to His Highness. Even if you force your way up through His Highness, you won't hold the position securely, and you might even drag His Highness down with you. Wait a few more years. The Emperor will surely promote you eventually. I am speaking to His Highness, who gave you the right to interrupt. You aren't even married to him yet, and you're already turning against your own family? If it weren't for your mistake back then, our family wouldn't have been demoted from a county marquis to a pavilion marquis. Mother wouldn't have died either. Have you not learned your lesson yet? With that, Zhao Rushi took my hand and walked out of the marquis's residence. Take me away. I've had enough of this house. As for what happened to Zhao Baichuan back then, I was well aware of it. Zhao Baichuan had been led by his superior to back the wrong side. When my imperial father conducted the purge, although Zhao Baichuan managed to escape death, he was demoted in rank and his title was stripped. Ever since then, Zhao Baichuan had been obsessively desperate to climb back up. His desire for office even indirectly cost Zhao Rushi's mother her life. Back then, Zhao Baichuan gave all his family's assets to a high-ranking official, hoping that the official would help him, but the very next day, that official was executed and the Zhao family's wealth was all confiscated. Upon receiving the terrible news, Zhao Rushi's mother fell deathly ill. There was no money in the house to pay for her medical care. In the end, she passed away amidst her suffering. After we left the marquise's estate, it was already quite late. Once I had escorted Zhao Rushi back to my residence, I headed toward Vermilion Bird Street in the west of the city alone. Vermilion Bird Street is built along the river, with the east and west sections flanking it. This street is brightly lit throughout the night, but most of the establishments here are brothels. As I walked through the crowd, I saw in the distance, inside a two-story building, an old acquaintance sitting there. It was Shu Kaishan, the son of General Shu Kang. He lacked the rugged physique of his father, appearing more like a scholar even from a distance. Shui Kaishan was the only person who knew me from our school days. As the son of a military general, he didn't join the army like his father, but instead preferred the 4 books and 5 classics, aspiring to be a man of letters. Because of this, Shui Kang didn't think much of his son, so Shui Kaishan left home to study under Master Li. We were quite close back in the academy. The news that Zhao Rushi was about to be wed was something he had told me as well. I walked up beside him, grabbed his flask and took a deep drink. Not bad, actually, but even with such a bold action, Shui Kaishan didn't notice me arrive. I couldn't help but tap him on the shoulder. Only then did Shui Kaishan see me, and he hurried to stand up and salute. I pressed him back down into his seat. What are you doing in a place like this? Aren't you afraid of getting caught by the general? Speak up. What are you here for? I can keep it a secret from the general. I'm not doing anything. Seeing Shui Kaishan stuttering, with his eyes glancing toward the second floor, I followed his gaze and realized exactly what he was up to. I teased him. Kaishan, you've grown up. No wonder I didn't see you by your father's side. So you came here to listen to music instead. Is this a brothel or a cabaret? Shu Kaishan blushed deeply, stammering. Xiao Qing, she only performs, she doesn't sell herself. While we were chatting, a voice echoed from the door. A slender young master walked into the building, his face gaunt and withered. His frail frame looked like it would collapse at the slightest breeze. Madame, come out. Madame. I'll count to 3. If you don't come out by then, I'm going to wreck your establishment. Sir, please calm yourself. Your presence here is an honor for my humble shop. Let's not ruin our relationship over this. This was Song Fengjie, son of the Minister of Revenue. He spends most of his time in these pleasure houses. Just look at his body, completely wasted away. You're absolutely right. My being here is the greatest honor your shop could ask for. Ha ha ha. I heard that you have someone here who plays the zither but never shows her face. The one you're referring to must be Xiao Qing, right? Bring her out to see me. I want to see exactly what kind of person she is in a place like this, and she won't even let people see her? Sir, that is a bit difficult. I've been trying to persuade her, but she is unwilling. There is nothing I can do. I said bring her out to see me. Are you deaf? At that moment, I noticed that behind this young master stood an old acquaintance, Bai Yang, the young master of the Bai family. Bai Yang, still nursing a swollen face, was chatting with other young gentlemen, completely unaware of my presence. Seeing that the madame wouldn't go up to call Xiao Qing, Song Fengji drew the sword at his waist and cleaved the table beside him in 2. The customers at that table trembled in fear and fled the scene. Shu Kaishan, standing beside me, had looked sour since their conversation began. His expression had been grim ever since the two started talking. Since Miss Xiao Qing is unwilling, Master Song, you shouldn't force her. Hearing this, Song Fangjie turned to look at Shu Kaishan, his face twisted into a mocking sneer. Oh. Isn't this General Shu's son? What brings you to a place like this? If your father, the general, caught you here, do you think you'd live to see tomorrow's sunrise? Shui Kaishan's face flushed deep red. He offered no retort. Song Fangjie then pulled out a silver ingot and threw it at the madam. The madam knelt to pick it up. Go and bring her out to me at once, he said, casting a provocative glance at Shui Kaishan. The madam looked troubled. What? Is it not enough? He proceeded to pull out another silver ingot and tossed it to the madam. The madam picked up the silver again, but remained motionless until Song Fangjie slammed a gold ingot down in front of her. The madam snatched up the gold with a fawning look. Don't worry, sir. I will make sure she comes out to see you. I don't just want her to come out. I want her to pour my drinks and spend the whole night with me. No problem. No problem at all. She is all yours for the night. Do with her as you please. I'd like to see who dares. No one is going to lay a hand on Xiao Qing today while I'm here. Not even if your father is the Vice Minister of Revenue. Just then Bai Yang spotted me sitting at a table drinking. He walked over to Song Fangjie and whispered something in his ear. Song Fangjie turned his gaze toward me, his face full of mockery. Since when can a poor scholar afford to visit a place like this? Whose lapdog have you become, to spend your master's money on another woman here? Is it the Zhao girls? Ha ha ha. This scholar really is a laughingstock. If that lady found out, would you be tossed into the river in a pig cage? Taking another woman's money to find a girl in a brothel is truly nauseating. Hearing Song Fangjie insult Zhao Rushi, I didn't hold back either. I threw the wine decanter from the table at Song Fangjie. Song Fangjie didn't have time to dodge and was hit square by the decanter. Fresh blood began to stream from his head. He touched his forehead, and realizing the blood wouldn't stop, his eyes instantly blazed with fury. My head. Samani. Kill him for me. Hack this wretched scholar into 1,000 pieces. Several dark figures rushed in from outside the door, knocking his bodyguards to the floor. As long as they don't die, beat them within an inch of their lives. Didn't you want to laugh your teeth out? Find it nauseating? I'll grant your wish now. Go pull out both of their teeth. After you pull them out, whatever it takes, make them cough it up for me. Spare me. My lord, spare me. I won't ever dare to do it again. My guards ignored their pleas for mercy and dragged the two of them outside, drawing a crowd of onlookers. Song Fangjie turned deathly pale, his face filled with uncontrollable panic. Who on earth are you? And where did they come from? Don't kill me. My father is the Vice Minister of Revenue. If something happens to me, my father will not let you get away with this. I walked towards Song Fangjie and took a jade pendant from my robe. When Song Fangjie saw it, he turned ashen. He knelt on the ground, trembling with fear. I didn't know your highness's identity and offended your highness. Please, your highness, calm your anger. Spare me this one time. I will never dare to do it again. I recall that not long ago, I told Bai Yang who I am. Did he not tell you? That animal Bai Yang never mentioned your identity at all. Otherwise, I would never have dared to offend your highness. I let out a laugh. Bai Yang is playing a game of using a wolf to devour a tiger, trying to use Song Fangjie to deal with me. Then get out of here now. Don't let me see you again. Upon hearing this, Song Fangjie looked as if he had been granted an amnesty. He turned around and slapped Bai Yang hard across the face. Bai Yang was knocked to the ground. He left the shop. Bai Yang also stumbled as he climbed up. He fled the shop. The other guests in the shop looked shocked. I patted Shui Kaishan on the shoulder. I handed a letter to Shui Kaishan. You handle the rest for me. I'm heading back now. After leaving, I was not in the mood to continue walking around. I returned directly to my residence. Early the next morning, I received news that Zhao Bachuan had taken his men and returned the Bai family's dowry to them. At that moment, Bai Han was chatting with someone. This man was none other than the Minister of Revenue, Song Wang, who was also Bai Han's brother-in-law and Song Fangjie's father. Hearing that Zhao Bachuan had returned the dowry, Bai Han's face turned livid. He cursed Zhao Bachuan for being short-sighted. Song Wang's expression also turned sour. Afterward, Bai Han and Song Wang went to the front hall together. The courtyard was filled with the returned dowry. Marquis Bai. These are the dowry gifts from your house. Marquis Zhao is certainly efficient. Marquis Zhao, this fifth prince, was merely born to the emperor and a palace maid, and has never been favored by his majesty. If you want to advance in your official career, you had better think twice. I knew that after this incident, Zhao Bachwan's resolve would certainly waver. So, I decided to head to the Zhao estate, intending to steady him and keep him from developing other ideas. On the way to the Zhao estate, I happened to run into Zhao Bachwan. I joined him on his journey. He seemed hesitant to speak along the way. I suspect he wanted to ask me again if after marrying his daughter to me, I could help his career path become swifter and more secure. But I did not give him an opening. With my current influence, I could even have Zhao Bachwan promoted to a much higher position, but doing so would immediately offend all the other princes, and Zhao Bachwan's position would be stripped away in a matter of days. Therefore, the cost would far outweigh the gains. Upon arriving at the gates of his manor, Zhao Bachwan could finally no longer contain himself. He turned to me and asked, "Your Highness the 5th Prince, could you elevate my official rank further? I don't ask for a very high position, just to be back where I was before the Zhao family's troubles." My expression was cold. I was somewhat angered by Zhao Bachwan's behavior. "If you wish to climb higher, serve the imperial court diligently. Once my father the emperor notices your efforts, he will surely promote you. There is no need for you to resort to these extraneous measures." Although Zhao Bachwan did not say much else, I had already guessed his intent. Zhao Bachwan's heart had already shifted. If I do not provide him with help, he will turn and throw his support behind Minister Song. "Marquise Zhao, are you aware of the young woman who was abducted from the capital recently?" Hearing this, Zhao Bachwan looked confused. "I am aware." His Majesty was absolutely furious over it and ordered a citywide search. Yet the culprit has still not been found. "Marquis, I ask that you come with me to a certain place. The answer to this case lies there." I brought Zhao Bachwan to Vermilion Bird Street. As it was his first time in a place like this, he appeared somewhat uneasy. He looks around cautiously. I led him into a place called Moonlit Tower. We found a random table and sat down. I clapped my hands once. My guards threw 2 men onto the floor. It was Bai Yang and Song Fangjie. I had ordered my guards to bring them here and tie them up before we arrived. Shortly after, the brothel madam heard the commotion and hurried down from the upper floor. "My good sirs, what are you doing in my establishment? My business is humble, and it cannot afford such a ruckus." "Your business is hardly small. Every brothel in this capital city has to make deals with you. How can you call this humble?" This place was an enterprise started by Song Fangjie and Bai Yang. On the surface, it was a pleasure house where they only sold performances, not themselves, but in reality it was the largest human trafficking ring in the capital. They abducted young girls from around the capital. The Vice Minister of Revenue and Bai Han provided cover for this industry, allowing the gang to become increasingly arrogant. That is what led to the major incident a few days ago. If it hadn't been for a wandering swordsman who stumbled upon their abduction and reported it to the authorities, this place would never have reigned in its activities. I came here last night intending to investigate the Moonlit Tower, but I ran into Shui Kaishan on the way and didn't make it here. However, I did happen to cross paths with Bai Yang and Song Fangjie. Judging by their behavior yesterday, it is clear that some brothels on this street refused to cooperate with them. What looked like forcing girls to sell themselves yesterday was actually forcing the madams to submit. At this moment, Zhao Bachwan spoke up. "Your Highness, what is the meaning of this? Aren't these young Master Bai and young Master Song? Why have you knocked them unconscious? If Marquis Bai and the Vice Minister of Revenue get angry, what should we do?" Zhao Bachwan said this for the benefit of the 2 men lying on the floor. He was rushing to distance himself from me, so that even if their fathers investigated, it would not lead back to him. "Don't be so anxious, Marquis Zhao. The real main characters haven't arrived yet. Just take a seat. Sit back and watch the show for a while. Everything will be fine." After waiting a short while, my guards brought in a few people from outside. They were a fat man and a man with one eye. The fat man is the owner of the shoe grain station. But this grain station is not as simple as it looks. This place serves as a den for these human traffickers. Whenever the authorities crack down, these people hide inside the shoe grain station. Bless. And this fat man is the brother-in-law of the Vice Minister of Revenue. Bless. The other man, who is one-eyed, is the ringleader of the human traffickers in the capital. He specializes in kidnapping young, pretty girls and selling them to brothels. They make a massive fortune from this. In the letter I gave to Shui Kaishan yesterday, I detailed the dealings of the shoe grain station and the Bright Moon Pavilion. This morning, Shui Kaishan led his men to seal off the grain station, capturing as many as 50 traffickers. I had my guards request these 2 from Shui Kaishan. I had them brought here, while the others were sent to the Ministry of Justice to await trial. The case the Emperor is determined to investigate. These 5 people are the real culprits. I pointed to the 4 people on the ground, and then I pointed to the madam. Hearing this, Zhao Bachwan was stunned. "Young Master Bai and young Master Song are actually involved in this as well? The 5 of you? I can let the one with the lightest crimes live. Decide amongst yourselves now, who gets to live, and who goes to their death. My lord, please spare me. This isn't what I wanted to do. Those animals forced me into it. I only wanted to open a simple pleasure house. I never intended to be involved in such harmful deeds. You venomous woman. It was your idea in the first place. How dare you betray me? What a load of crap. That old hag deserves to die the most. If it weren't for you, I never would have gotten into this line of work. My lord, please have mercy. Years ago, my mother fell deathly ill, and I had no choice but to borrow money from this madam. Within 3 days, the interest grew higher than the bloody principal. I was forced to climb aboard their ship of thieves. My lord, both of them deserved to die. When I first found them, they had already been doing this for years, especially this one-eyed cur, to capture victims. Who knows how many lives he has destroyed. And this mad hag, she has already beaten 7 or 8 girls to death for refusing to submit. These two are guilty of heinous crimes. I beg you, my lord, show mercy. Please, let me go. Upon waking, Song Fangjie saw me sitting in a chair watching them and observed the surroundings. He realized at once what had happened. Your Highness, spare my life. I'll never do it again. Please don't kill me. With that, the two threw themselves on the ground, but their eyes were full of resentment. Let's set that aside for a moment. Those 3 just now claimed that everything was directed by you 2, and that they had nothing to do with it. You 3. If I hadn't helped you back then, you'd have been dead long ago. And now, you turn out to be so ungrateful. You, how many people have you harmed over these years? And you, Bai Yang suddenly turned his spear toward Song Fangjie. You were the mastermind behind all of this. You, who dealt with those human traffickers. How much money did you pocket in the process? How many lives did you ruin? None of those things have anything to do with me. Now you're playing the innocent? You didn't seem to think so when the money hit your pockets. Back then you couldn't wait to pull off a few more jobs, could you? Enough. Don't say another word. I thought you 2 weren't coming. Now that you're here, you must have heard what the 2 young masters just said. What is your explanation for this? If not for your protection, they wouldn't have been able to grow so large. Bai Han collapsed weakly outside the door. Song Yu's face turned pale. He crawled over to my side. Your Highness, 5th Prince, please, I beg you not to tell the Emperor. I can give you money. Lots and lots of money. I slapped Song Yu across the face. The force of the blow made Song Yu stumble. Those were human lives. Can they really be measured in money? Your Highness, I can work for you. I hold the rank of Vice Minister of Revenue. I have great power. I can help you topple the Crown Prince and claim the throne. My apologies, Minister Song, but I have no need for that. Have you seen enough of the show? This is how the upper echelon of the government is. It is full of such dirty dealings. These illicit businesses have long supported a portion of the Crown Prince's expenses. I must make Zhao Bachuan understand just how hard that position at the top is to hold. Even a Vice Minister of Revenue can be destroyed in an instant. Only then did Zhao Bachuan recover from his shock. The Vice Minister of Revenue, who had been so arrogant before him this morning, was now sprawled on the ground like a dog. When Song Yu saw me refuse, he realized he was not long for this world. He stood up and kicked his own son. You animal. I kept telling you to stop, but you refused to listen. Now that you've brought such disaster upon us, how can I face our ancestors? After returning to the estate, I saw Zhao Rush is admiring the flowers in the courtyard. I gently wrapped my arms around Zhao Rushi and told her about what happened today. With today's events, my father, he shouldn't act recklessly anymore. We can finally be together properly. If he is a smart man, he'll stay put for now and won't make any further moves. When you were studying at the academy, you weren't like this. Back then you were so quiet, just reading books all day. Why have you changed so much? Then do you like the current me or the old me? They are both you. I love them both. I wrapped my arms around Zhao Rushi's waist and kissed her deeply, just as I thought. After the emperor learned the truth, he had the entire Bai and Song clans executed. After leaving the mansion, I met people from the Crown Prince's estate. They claimed the Crown Prince wanted to discuss something with me. My relationship with the Crown Prince was never good. The Crown Prince targeted every prince equally, but perhaps because I used to be so unremarkable, and even the Emperor looked down on me a bit. He may not have seen me as much of a threat. The Crown Prince's estate was decorated quite lavishly. The walls were covered with famous calligraphy and paintings. The courtyard was filled with rock formations and flowers. When I saw the Crown Prince, he was drinking tea in the pavilion. Greetings, brother. Why did you summon me, brother? I knew that after I brought about the end of Bai Han and Lord Song, the Crown Prince would eventually find me. A 5th brother has arrived. I don't have much to discuss, brother. Just invited you over to share some tea. I sat down across from the Crown Prince. I heard that you recently cracked a major case, 5th brother, solving a real thorn in the Emperor's side. It was just luck. Not worthy of your praise, brother. The position of Vice Minister of Revenue is quite significant, isn't it? Do you think Lord Zhao can hold on to it? Does the Crown Prince think I took down Song Yu just to help Lord Zhao? Isn't that the case? Then you might be disappointed, Your Highness. I never once intended to help him. Then do you think that after causing me such a huge loss, you will get off easy? I advise you, Your Highness, not to do anything foolish. I had initially thought that Zhao Bachuan would calm down after this matter, but it was clear that Zhao Bachuan did not understand my intentions. Now, he has gotten himself involved with the Yan family. These two are the crown prince's core partisans. The father, Yan Zhengli, serves as Minister of Personnel, a veteran official who has served under 3 emperors of Great Zhou. His son, Yan Baihu, is the Vice Minister of Justice. Using the private power of the Ministry of Personnel, Yan Zhengli extorts money from officials seeking promotion. Yan Baihu, meanwhile, uses his position in the Ministry of Justice to build up wealth through massive illicit enterprises. They learned from Zhao Baquan that I was the one who killed Bai Han and Song Yu. Since those two were subordinates of Yan Baihu, the Yan family has been relentless in suppressing me. One uses the authority of the Ministry of Personnel to force officials who support me out of the capital. Yet, I am not the least bit afraid of them. I am merely disappointed by Zhao Bachuan's actions. Dealing with the Yan family is quite simple, because the father and son have a penchant for lampshades made of human skin. The pale yellow light they produce is very beautiful, especially when reading at night. The light is excellent for the eyes. However, such lampshades are not very durable. After a period of use, the lampshades turn black, affecting the color of the light. So every month the two must replace them. Thus, one uses his official position to lure those seeking promotion, swindling them out of their entire fortunes. The other then throws those same people into the Ministry of Justice to face harsh, unjust sentences. I possess all the evidence against these two. I had the skin traders who supplied the human skin to the Yans, along with the craftsmen who made the shades, brought to the capital. I brought them before the Yan family. Zhao Bachuan was there at the Yan residence, fawning over the father and son. Your Highness, what brings you to my home, uninvited? And who are these two? The Yan family was clearly prepared. They had held the families of these 2 men hostage. Do you truly not recognize them, gentlemen? These lampshades were made by these very 2 men. You don't recognize them even now? These tables and chairs were also made by someone. Should I be expected to know every craftsman who builds furniture? Yan Zhengli looked at me with a sense of defiance. He was certain that these 2 would never betray them. But before I arrived, I had already ordered my men to rescue their families. Your Highness, this is highly presumptuous, barging into my home like this, without providing a reasonable explanation. Do you recognize me? No. This is my first time meeting you 2 lords. Don't be so anxious, Lord Yan. Wait just a moment. After that, my men brought their wives and children to the Yan residence. I have rescued your wives and children. The 2 of you just tell the truth about the Yan family's crimes. I can ensure your survival. It was him. Yan Baihu, you are utterly heartless. You abused your power and extorted us. You forced so many of our brothers to their deaths. You even abducted innocent women. I was just a simple animal hide dealer. These 2 sought me out and forced me to collect human skin. They had me make lampshades to give to them, but they kidnapped my wife and son to force me to obey. It was them. They forced me into this. I only ever processed animal hides for a living. These 2 approached me and ordered me to make human skin lampshades. I didn't want to commit such an atrocity, but they threatened my son's life. I had no choice but to make these things. Upon hearing this, the Yan father and son could no longer sit still. They stood up abruptly. Yan Zhengli stumbled and fell to the ground. Unable to get back up, he wailed incessantly on the floor, but he still struggled to sit up, heaving heavily as he gasped for breath. Zhao Bichuan tried to step forward to help him up. I dare you to try and help him. Please, Your Highness, don't report me. I have proof of many scandals involving the Crown Prince. I can give you all of these. Please, spare my life. Do not tell the Emperor about these matters, or you could pin everything on my father. He's practically dying anyway. I ordered the Tanners and their families to be taken away. The Tanners knelt on the ground and showered me with thanks. After the 2 thanked me, picked up their son, and brought their wife, they left the Yan estate. Yan Zhengli is about to kick the bucket. Go and turn him into a lampshade. If you do a good job, I might consider it. Yan Baihu was terrified upon hearing this. Then, with a savage expression, he kowtowed to thank me for his life. He actually picked up the tools and walked toward his father. Yan Zhengli wailed incessantly at his son approaching him. Zhao Bachuan could not bear to watch this scene. I pinned Zhao Bachuan in place. Don't leave. Stay here, and watch how it is done. Then explain it to me. If a single step is wrong, you will die too. After leaving, I reported this news to my imperial father. My imperial father sent troops to surround the Yan estate. The officers were shocked by the scene when they rushed into the estate. Yan Baihu was in the middle of trying to save his old father. Fluids were pooling on the floor. Zhao Bachuan was slumped on the ground, his eyes full of terror. Feces and urine were splattered everywhere. Finally, Yan Baihu was executed on the spot. The soldiers searched the Yan estate from top to bottom. They found hundreds of old lampshades made of human skin. The gold seized from the Yan family amounted to over 1 million taels. All of this money went straight into the national treasury. For his heinous crimes, Yan Baihu, was whipped hundreds of times by my imperial father with the golden whip. I smiled when I received the news, opposing me. These people are still too naive. After this incident, Zhao Bichuan did not restrain himself. Instead, he became even more frantic. He actually contacted another key figure of the Crown Prince's faction, Minister of War, Li Yuzhen. Li Yuzhen was responsible for recruiting and managing the generals under the Crown Prince, so the Crown Prince would allocate funds directly to Li Yuzhen. Li Yuzhen would keep a sizable portion of that money for himself, but since I cut off the Crown Prince's source of funding, the current Li Yuzhen has no more money to embezzle, and even has to use his own money to support his subordinates. That is why he hates me to the bone. I have never taken Li Yuzhen seriously. The silver he has embezzled alone is enough to guarantee he will have no place to be buried. Therefore, I took the evidence of Li Yuzhen's corruption that I collected and presented it to the Crown Prince. But the Crown Prince had no one else to use, so after giving Li Yuzhen a slap on the wrist, he continued to employ him. Seeing that my tactic had no effect, Li Yuzhen became even more rampant. Such a punishment left me very dissatisfied. Since the Crown Prince is unwilling to punish his subordinate heavily, then I shall help the Crown Prince do it. I walked to the Ministry of War, where Li Yuzhen was on duty. Zhao Beichuan was standing right beside Li Yuzhen. Li Yuzhen looked up and saw me, his face showing some surprise, but he still left his post to greet me. I wonder why your highness has come to the Ministry of War. Nothing much. I just have an old case I want you to look at. I took out a letter. Li Yuzhen didn't even glance at it. If you are looking to investigate a case, you should go to the Ministry of Justice. Your Highness has come to the wrong place. This case has everything to do with you. Minister Li must see it for himself. Li Yuzhen took the letter from my hand, and the other officials of the Ministry of War gathered around. The letter detailed how Li Yuzhen harmed the former Minister of War, stole his position, and the entire process of how he became the Minister of War himself. Li Yuzhen grew more terrified as he read, until he finally collapsed to the ground. Then, realizing what had happened, he scrambled over to my side. Your Fifth Highness, please show mercy. I beg your Fifth Highness to spare my life. I will surely follow your Fifth Highness's every command. At that moment, the officers from the Ministry of Justice I had summoned arrived. They took Li Yuzhen into custody, and subsequently, the Ministry of Justice reopened the investigation into the case. It turned out to be exactly as written in the record. The remains of the former Minister of War were found buried by Li Yuzhen. In the end, Li Yuzhen, for murdering a court official, was executed and his head displayed in public. Zhao Beichuan was also implicated and detained pending trial. However, the very next day, Zhao Beichuan was bailed out. The man who bailed him out was the former Chancellor Yang Qisheng. Yang Qisheng and Yan Zhengli were close friends. Like Yan Zhengli, he was a veteran official who had served 3 reigns. He had presided over no fewer than 10 imperial examinations. Many officials in the capital today are his former students. Upon hearing of his friend's death, he rushed to the capital without delay. He summoned the only person present at the time of his friend's death, Zhao Beichuan, to question him. Zhao Beichuan recounted the entire affair to Yang Qisheng, embellishing the story with his own lies. After listening, Yang Qisheng took Zhao Beichuan to my mansion. Out of respect for this veteran official, I courteously invited him into my home. Yang Qisheng sat opposite me, leaning on his cane. He was followed by Zhao Beichuan and his student, the current Minister of Works, Liu Keiji. There was a look of smug triumph in Zhao Beichuan's eyes. He looked at me with an air of provocation. Yang Qisheng opened his somewhat cloudy eyes. They held a piercing, scrutinizing gaze. I heard you were there when old Master Yan died. I was indeed there, I replied. One could even say Yan Zhengli's death had a great deal to do with me. Yang Qisheng did not expect me to admit it so readily. The scrutiny in his eyes grew even more intense. His voice became lower and heavier. Would it have been so difficult to let him serve 2 more years before retiring? Why be so aggressive as to cause his death? And even in death, he was not allowed to rest in peace. If you have come here to seek justice for Yan Zhengli, then you may as well leave. In this matter, I do not believe I did anything wrong. I want to see if in a few days' time, Your Highness the Prince will still be so self-righteous. I will make sure you go to old Master Yan's grave and offer him your apologies. After they left, I read through the letters sent by my subordinates. I watched as those officials who used to show me favor were all scrambling to distance themselves from me. I felt a surge of anger. That old bastard still has a few tricks up his sleeve, but in my eyes, these tricks are harmless. Dealing with someone like Yang Qisheng is quite simple. You old bastard. Wouldn't it have been better to enjoy your retirement at home? Why insist on meddling in these affairs? Is ruining your own reputation truly what you wanted? Yang Qisheng certainly lives up to his reputation of having countless students, with disciples all across the land. In just half a day, he had rallied quite a number of officials against me. The next morning at court, nearly half of the officials were whispering about me. They claimed I forced Yan Baihu to act against his own father, violating human ethics. They demanded that the emperor punish me severely. As for these officials, I didn't hold back. That very night, I had my guards infiltrate their homes. They drew a red line across their necks and left a letter containing evidence of their scandals. In the subsequent morning courts, those same officials who impeached me all remained silent. None of them dared to make another move. If I could draw a line on their necks, without them ever noticing, I could just as easily have ended their lives without a sound, and having their scandals in my possession meant I could ensure their complete ruin. I had originally assumed Yang Chisheng would call it quits, but he clearly had no such intention. He was still determined to seek justice for Yan Zhengli. He actually dragged his frail, aging body back into the imperial court, hoping to use his remaining prestige to directly pressure the emperor, demanding that the emperor impose a harsh penalty upon me. So, I deployed my definitive tactic against Yang Chisheng. Yang Chisheng's only grandson has a unique proclivity regarding his grandson's specific tastes. He had always strictly forbidden it. He wouldn't even allow a single man to attend to his grandson's daily needs. While Yang Chisheng was at court pressuring the emperor, I ordered my men to send a handsome young man to his grandson. And as for those officials who had previously impeached me, I sent letters ordering them to turn on Yang Chisheng. At court, almost every official was saying the same thing. They urged Yang Chisheng not to meddle in court affairs and to go home and enjoy his final years in peace. And Yang Chisheng shouted in the imperial court that the nation was on the brink of collapse, followed by vomiting blood and fainting. After being sent back to his residence, he opened the door only to encounter his own grandson, who was inside the room engaged in illicit activities with a man. He then spewed another mouthful of old blood and died from his ailments several days later. Before he passed away, Yang Chisheng wrote a letter, which he had Zhao Beichuan deliver to his student, the current prime minister, Zhang Xingjian. Zhang Xingjian is not only the reigning prime minister, but also the most vital core figure of the crown prince's faction. Relying on his immense influence in the imperial court, he would frequently maneuver decisions made in the imperial assemblies, tilting them in favor of the crown prince. Zhang Xingjian learned from Zhao Beichuan about the situation between the crown prince's faction and Yang Chisheng, and he too decided to take action against me. Zhang Xingjian is, as his name implies, demanding the highest standards from his family and himself, making it nearly impossible to find any dirt on him. In fact, apart from his affiliation with the crown prince's faction, there was no other reason for him to be my enemy. He agreed to help Zhao Beichuan finish me off, which held only benefits and no harm for the crown prince's party. Although he refused to grant Zhao Beichuan an official position, even so, Zhao Beichuan was still delighted, for in his eyes, as long as I was eliminated, his path to promotion would be clear and unobstructed. Dealing with Zhang Xingjian was actually quite simple. To help cover up the scandals of the crown prince's faction, he frequently defied the emperor's wishes. These actions had already left the emperor dissatisfied with the incumbent prime minister. Coupled with the years of restraint the emperor endured under Yang Chisheng, the emperor had long harbored deep-seated resentment toward the office of the prime minister. Therefore, by fanning the flames at the right time and letting Zhang Xingjian cross the emperor's line, I could push this prime minister into the abyss. I brought out the evidence I had gathered on the other members of the crown prince's faction, the scandals of all the officials in the faction, and evidence of the illicit businesses under the prince's control. I compiled these materials into a volume and delivered it all to the emperor. After the emperor examined them, he discovered that the things these officials had done were even worse than what was documented in the book. In a single day, dozens of homes were raided. The court was shaken, and everyone feared for their safety. At this moment, Zhang Hongjian actually stood up. He went as far as to try and protect some of the crown prince's faction. After all, the crown prince didn't have many men left to use. If these people died, the crown prince would be in grave danger. He asked the emperor to give these officials a light punishment. Otherwise, there would be no officials left to run the court. Already in a fit of rage, the emperor stripped Zhang Hongjian of his position immediately and announced that there would be no more prime minister in the Great Zhou. With the final core figure of the crown prince's faction removed, all of the crown prince's supporters were purged. Those who narrowly escaped also kept their distance from him, not daring to take a public stand. But Zhao Beichuan approached the crown prince at this time. The two of them actually began to feel a sense of mutual sympathy. I was very shocked when I received this news, marveling at Zhao Beichuan's foolish political mind. It was only a matter of time before the crown prince was deposed, yet Zhao Beichuan still counted on the crown prince to help him rise to the top. Zhao Beichuan has now become a favorite of the crown prince, and the crown prince learned the truth about all of this from him. The crown prince found out that the purge of his faction was entirely my doing, and he was immediately filled with rage. I ignored the crown prince's powerless fury. The crown prince is already a walking corpse. Even if he wanted to do something to me, he lacks the strength. The crown prince promised Zhao Beichuan high status and wealth, and told Zhao's father to sabotage me. They cried out at my doorstep, disturbing Zhao Rushi and me every day. How shameless. At this moment, Zhao Rushi walked up to my side. How did my father become like this? Then, tears streamed down her face, and she hugged me tightly. I'm sorry. I don't know why he is like this. I've caused you to suffer. You don't need to apologize to me for them. These matters have nothing to do with you. You just need to be happy at home. Their little schemes pose no threat to me at all. Later, I received a piece of news. The Crown Prince and Zhao Bashuan hired an assassin to kill me. It was the renowned swordsman, Gongsun Yue. I find it rather laughable. The Crown Prince's retaliation is nothing more than child's play in my eyes. It seems the Crown Prince has reached the end of his rope. But Zhao Bashuan's sycophancy makes me truly furious. He actually spent the little fortune his family had left just to ensure Gongsun Yue would stab me a few more times. To vent his bitter resentment, upon receiving the Crown Prince's invitation, Gongsun Yue traveled from the East Sea to the capital. Every step of his journey never escaped my watchful eyes. I had my guard seize Gongsun Yue while he was drinking outside the city walls and brought him to my residence. A martial artist from the underworld is certainly stubborn. Even after days of interrogation, he refused to reveal the Crown Prince. My men found at Gongsun Yue's residence the letters detailing his conspiracy with the Crown Prince. Even when I shoved the letters in his face, he still refused to admit to anything. I had no patience left for Gongsun Yue and ordered him to be buried alive outside the capital. I handed the letters to Zhao Rushi. After she read the letters, her face turned deathly pale. There is no need to worry about my feelings. From this day forth, he is no longer my father. I could feel Zhao Rushi trembling in my arms. Although Zhao Bachuan has committed many wrongs, he is, after all, Zhao Rushi's biological father. How could she not be heartbroken? In the days that followed, I decided to show Zhao Bashuan no more mercy. Using my influence at the imperial court, I had Zhao Beichuan stripped of his official position. The next morning, I went to the Crown Prince's manor. I placed the letters of collusion between the Crown Prince and Gongsun Yue before him. The Crown Prince turned ghostly pale upon seeing the secret letters and collapsed to the floor. He knew that if these letters were to reach the emperor, he would have no chance of redemption. So he knelt beside me, his face full of panic. "Fifth brother, I beg you, older brother, for the sake of our brotherhood, please do not tell father about this. The assassin didn't even harm you, and I will never do such a foolish thing again. Your Highness, once you have committed a wrong, you must be prepared to face the consequences. Don't you even understand something as simple as that?" After I handed the letters to the emperor was struck with a violent rage. He had the Crown Prince imprisoned in the imperial clan court because the letters did not mention Zhao Beichuan. He managed to escape disaster once again. Even in the imperial clan court, the Crown Prince did not behave himself. He secretly contacted the outside world and actually wrote a letter to our uncle stationed at the frontier. That uncle had previously been exiled to the Lingnan region due to an attempted rebellion. He did not give up in despair while in Lingnan, but instead gathered a large number of bandits to establish an organization called the Dragon Gang. These bandits ran wild throughout the south, seizing quite a bit of territory. The Crown Prince had always been in contact with this uncle. He had sent the uncle over 1,000 sets of armor in succession, not to mention countless weapons and silver. Upon learning that I had destroyed all of the Crown Prince's cronies and caused the prince to be imprisoned in the imperial clan court, this imperial uncle was consumed by rage. He led the Dragon Gang north directly, under the banner of killing me, the fifth prince. Along the way, he colluded with many other bandit forces, swelling his numbers to over 20,000 men. Because of the armor they possess, the local government troops attempting to intercept them were all defeated. I dispatched my shadow guards, ordering them to monitor my uncle's forces at all times. Yet Zhao Bashuan still wouldn't let it go. He secretly contacted my uncle, promising that once the capital was taken, if my uncle granted him a first-rank official position, he would sneak out in the dead of night to open the city gates and let them in to kill me. I set down the secret report, a cold sneer playing on my lips, refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. It seems the lessons I taught him previously did not truly land home, for he feels no pain at all. He still harbors such unrealistic fantasies. I'm sorry, he has truly lost his mind. You don't need to hold back anymore. Otherwise, he will end up hurting you. I held her in my arms to comfort her. I am frighteningly calm right now, but this is exactly when I am at my most furious. I have decided to use the full extent of my power, ensure that the Crown Prince and Zhao Bashuan are wiped out once and for all. I sent my shadow guards to defeat my uncle's army. The shadow guards were a secret unit I had trained in the shadows, although there were only 1,000 of them. Each member of the troop had undergone specialized training. They were not only capable of gathering intelligence, but were also a highly formidable combat force. When my uncle's army encountered my shadow guards, at first they could barely put up a fight, but as the shadow guards continued to cut down the bandits, this ragtag army of over 20,000 completely collapsed. The bandits scattered and fled in every direction. My uncle, in the chaos of battle, was captured by my shadow guards. Looking at the intelligence report brought back by the guards, the corners of my mouth curled up. Uncle. The roles have been reversed. I ordered the shadow guards to escort my uncle back to the capital. Letters between him and the Crown Prince were seized from his person, and I handed all these letters over to the emperor. Upon seeing the letters, the emperor's face turned livid. He sent men to the Crown Prince's residence, where they also found letters communicating with my uncle. Consequently, the emperor ordered the crown prince to be deposed, stripped of his royal status, and demoted to a commoner. He and my uncle were both executed for treason. On the execution grounds, the crown prince cursed me incessantly. After my uncle's death, the remaining members of the dragon gang in the south, along with the bandits who had escaped, continued to cause trouble, but without my uncle to lead them. These people were nothing but a rabble. Local troops could easily suppress them. Zhao Baichuan, upon hearing the news, was still at the marquise's estate waiting for a reply from my uncle. He was so terrified that he collapsed to the ground. It took a long time before he could even move. Zhao Baichuan rushed frantically to the gates of my estate, kneeling and apologizing to me, begging to see me, pleading for my forgiveness. But I merely listened coldly to his wailing. Me, someone like him, isn't even worth seeing. I had someone deliver a message to him that if he dares to disturb my life with Zhao Rushi again, I will make sure he has no grave to be buried in. In the end, I could not bring myself to kill him. I spared his miserable life, hoping he would just leave it at that. Upon hearing this, Zhao Baichuan turned deathly pale, too terrified to stir up more trouble, and scrambled back to his manor like a dog. The news of his ties to the crown prince caused Zhao Baichuan's reputation to plummet. Even the common peddlers on the street dared to mock him. Though Zhao Baichuan remained in the capital, his status was lower than that of a local town constable. I had assumed Zhao Baichuan would stop bothering us, but I had overestimated his character. He actually chose to target my wedding to Rushi. After I consulted the Ministry of Rites regarding the royal wedding and finished all preparations to wed, I've never been to the south in all my life. I want to go and see it. After we marry, I will take you to the south. The scenery in Jiangnan is magnificent, and we can stay there for a long time. I also want to see the grasslands. Once we defeat the Xiongnu, they say the view from Wolf Mountain is exquisite. Just as we were chatting, the Ministry of Rites sent word. It turned out Zhao Rushi's father had visited the ministry and told them that he was Zhao Rushi's father and that he did not consent to his daughter marrying me. The ministry then claimed that without parental consent, it violated ancestral customs and cancelled our wedding. They told us to settle it with Zhao Baichuan first, or they would never approve the marriage. Then, Zhao Baichuan took my visits to Juke Street and fabricated a story that, as a prince, I had no regard for royal dignity, frequenting these salacious establishments and engaging with numerous courtesans. Although many knew I went there to investigate cases, news like this still caused me negative repercussions. In the eyes of the city's commoners, I had become exactly what he described, a prince who would stop at nothing to indulge his vices. Listening to my subordinates' report, I laughed out loud. Zhao Baichuan is truly at his wit's end to think he would resort to such tactics, but he severely underestimates me. I explained the situation to the Minister of Rites. Once the Minister of Rites learned the truth of the matter, as well as everything Zhao Baichuan had done, he immediately overruled the other officials in the ministry and personally oversaw the wedding preparations for Zhao Rushi and me. At the same time, the Capital Guard posted public notices clarifying the truth, revealing my actions in eliminating the human traffickers and exposing the Bai and Song families behind them for all to see. My reputation in the capital turned around in an instant, while Zhao Baichuan became a pariah that everyone despised. After the matter was resolved, I told Zhao Rushi the whole story. Upon hearing it, her expression remained cold, but the disappointment in her eyes was impossible to hide. It seemed she had long suspected her father would act this way. I gently pulled her into my arms, and she burst into tears. Her father had gone to great lengths to prevent her from marrying me, even committing many heinous and treacherous deeds to do so. All of this left Zhao Rushi deeply heartbroken. A month later, the wedding between Zhao Rushi and me took place smoothly. The mansion was decorated with lanterns and silk, and many court officials sent gifts, offering their blessings to Zhao Rushi and me. I did not invite Zhao's father, but he shamelessly came to cause a scene at the gates. He knelt on the ground, wailing and crying, "You deceived my daughter, and now I'm living a life worse than a ghost." He demanded that I compensate him. I ordered the shadow guards to drag Zhao's father away from the gates and told them to warn him if he dared to cause trouble here again, I would have him thrown into the northern desert. Terrified, Zhao's father was left speechless. After shaking off their grip, he scrambled away in a panic. After the wedding, Zhao Rushi and I enjoyed a period of peaceful, happy days. The following year, I was appointed as the chief examiner for the imperial examinations. While preparing for the tests, I received some news. Zhao Baichuan has made contact with my second brother. The two of them are plotting to cause an accident during the imperial examinations to force the exams to be called off. I guessed my second brother's intentions immediately. He wants to use these exams to make the emperor lose faith in me. That way, he can seize the position of crown prince, and then he would promote Zhao Baichuan. In doing so, both of their wishes would be fulfilled, but if things were really to go as they planned, my chance at the crown would be doomed. I would have no choice but to use extreme measures. I did my best to ensure things wouldn't come to that. I then gathered evidence of their plot to sabotage the exams. They planned to take slips of paper covered in test answers and scatter them across the testing grounds, creating chaos to force the exams to be terminated. My shadow guards soon located their meeting place in a house on the outskirts of the city. I headed there with my shadow guards. When I kicked open the door, they were still holding the slips covered in answers. There were thousands of them scattered on the floor. Seeing me, Their faces turned to masks of disbelief. Zhao Baichuan collapsed to the floor in terror. My second brother desperately tried to stuff the papers into his mouth, attempting to destroy the evidence. I ordered my guards to secure the scene, and I handed the evidence to the emperor. Upon seeing it, the emperor's face turned livid. He had my second brother locked in the imperial clan court for life. Zhao Baichuan was sentenced to hard labor at the border. Zhao Rushi cried for a long time after hearing the news. Her father is no longer a young man. Being sent to the military is a death sentence for him. After the exams concluded, I was named the crown prince. Zhao Rushi naturally became the crown princess. Sometime after that, I received news. Zhao Baichuan had fled north, crossing into Xiongnu territory. He defected to Chanyu Tumen. Chanyu Tumen is the current leader of the Xiongnu. He unified the 9 northern Xiongnu tribes. He has trained a powerful army and commands vast horse pastures, producing a massive cavalry force. The Xiongnu of today are even capable of facing the Great Zhou head-on. It faintly shows signs of marching south. I feel that this will be the greatest threat to the Great Zhou in the future. After Zhao Baichuan defected to the Xiongnu, he disclosed some intelligence about the Great Zhou to them. He wanted to use the Xiongnu's hand to destroy the Great Zhou so he could return to the Central Plains and claim a higher position. He even told Tumen Chanyu about me and Zhao Rushi, embellishing the story along the way. He claimed that for the sake of a woman, I was purging loyal officials and destroying our own defenses, persecuting countless officials in the capital. He warned that if this continued, the Great Zhou would surely weaken, trying to persuade Tumen Chanyu to invade from the south. He even promised Tumen Chanyu that, as long as I was killed, he would help him rule the Great Zhou, provided Tumen Chanyu promised him the title of a vassal king. The shadow guards I had planted among the Xiongnu compiled Zhao Baichuan and Tumen Chanyu's schemes, along with all the intelligence he had leaked to the Xiongnu regarding the Great Zhou, into a dossier and placed it before me. I read these intelligence reports with a stone-cold expression. It turns out that Zhao Baichuan's plan was to bypass the northern frontier fortifications and attack the capital directly. I let out a soft laugh. It seems he not only lacks political acumen, but also lacks any strategic sense. Tumen Chanyu, who was able to unite the 9 Xiongnu tribes, would certainly not be such a brainless character. Zhao Baichuan's attempt to borrow a knife to kill was nothing more than wishful thinking. Tumen Chanyu only wanted to use him to extract intelligence on the Great Zhou. He would never, for the sake of a mere Zhao Baichuan, take such a massive risk to invade and confront the Great Zhou. Furthermore, the intelligence Zhao Baichuan provided to him consisted only of trivial matters. He would never in his life touch upon the true core of the Great Zhou. I wrote a letter and sent it to Tumen Chanyu, in which I detailed everything Zhao Baichuan had done in the capital, informing Tumen Chanyu of it all, warning him to be wary of this man. Upon receiving the letter, Tumen Chanyu immediately had Zhao Baichuan seized. He also sent a reply back to me, which read, "Chanyu Tumen, our tribe now has the strength to confront the Great Zhou, so we have no need for underhanded schemes. We shall defeat the armies of the Great Zhou on the battlefield. I, Chanyu Tumen, am not so easily swayed. To be used as a pawn by a fool is something I would never do. Moreover, I despise traitors above all else. I would never keep such a person by my side. Rest assured, 5th Prince, I will send this man back to the Great Zhou for you to deal with as you see fit. We shall not interfere." The next morning, a small Xiongnu troop arrived outside the North Pass. One of them had Zhao Baichuan tied behind his horse, dragging him to the gates. After dumping him there, they rode straight back toward the north. After the North Pass guards brought Zhao Baichuan back to the capital, I went to the prison to see him. He was still unrepentant. "You brought me to this ruinous state. How dare you come to see me? I'm going to kill you." As he spoke, he reached his hand through the cell door, trying to grab my throat. I informed him of his upcoming execution. He instantly collapsed to the floor, his eyes hollow and vacant, as if his soul had been ripped away. He began to sob loudly, looking truly pathetic. He reached his hand out of the cell again, trying to cling to my leg. "But I am your daughter's husband. Please, save me. I don't care about rank or riches anymore. I just want to live. Please, I beg you. One may forgive the heavens' disasters, but one cannot survive those they bring upon themselves. You should have expected this outcome when you did those things." The next day, the emperor ordered Zhao Baichuan's execution. Before he died, he cursed me, blaming me for ruining his life and for taking his daughter. Upon hearing of Zhao Baichuan's death, Zhao Rushi said not a word. I knew she must be hurting inside. "I'm okay. He brought this upon himself. He has no one else to blame." I held her tightly in my arms. "I will always be by your side. And I will always be by yours." I patted Zhao Rushi on the back. She began to weep bitterly. In the 2 years that followed, I traveled all over the world with Zhao Rushi. At the same time, I kept watch over the royal court through my shadow guards. After returning to the capital, I gradually took over some of the court's affairs. I constantly suppressed my 3rd and 4th brothers who were busy recruiting officials. 8 years later, the emperor passed away. I successfully ascended to the throne. I became the new emperor of the Great Zhou. I crowned Zhao Rushi as my empress. During my reign, Tumen launched an army and moved south. I marched north and defeated the Xiongnu army. I fought all the the way to the heart of their ancestral lands. The Xiongnu were driven to flee westward. The remaining small factions of the Xiongnu surrendered to the Great Zhou. I also quelled the rebellions of my third and fourth brothers. Domestically, I brought prosperity and stability to the Great Zhou. I then conquered all the surrounding tribes and small nations. I expanded the borders of the Great Zhou. I dispatched fleets to explore the deep oceans. Nations from all over the world came to pay tribute to the Great Zhou. The affairs of the world were now decided by the Great Zhou, and the affairs of the Great Zhou were decided by me. 40 years later, Zhao Rushi could not stay by my side until the very end. In my final years, every single moment I spent missing Zhao Rushi. I thought of everything we had experienced together. I arrived at the schoolhouse where we used to study together, touching the books we once read together. I felt my eyes growing heavy. I sat in the seat I occupied when I was her study companion. After closing my eyes, I felt the light before me growing brighter. I opened my eyes and saw Zhao Rushi sitting beside me, writing with a brush, as if sensing my presence. She turned her head to look at me, and at this moment my body had returned to the way it was in my youth. With tears in her eyes, Zhao Rushi, welcome back. My study companion.